India's rich and varied ecosystems sustain its vast population, most of which is directly dependent on it for their livelihoods. With population increase, industrialization, and climate change, these ecosystems and their complex symbiosis are under threat. We cannot turn the clock back, but we can evolve new solutions based on new realities while yet using old wisdom. RBS Foundation India aims to find multi-dimensional solutions that enhance adaptive capacities while fostering community ability to manage enterprise and simultaneously encourage natural resources management. The Nilgiris, India's first internationally recognized biosphere reserve. The Nilgiris is a home to a pastoral tribe, the Todas, whose lives are intertwined with the Nilgiri grasslands and all they offer. The Todas are highly dependent on the forest resources for their daily needs and their livelihoods as well. It defines their collective identity. As the grasslands vanish, the Todas are thrown into a vortex of change. Pastoralism is giving way to settled agriculture and even migration to urban areas. Soon, the only remnants of their rich past will be their clothing and adornments. The Todas have attempted to respond to this challenge. They have revived their distinctive and intricate tradition of embroidery, known as pugur or floral work, through individual and self-help group initiatives.
And our group has about 6 tribal women, and the rest are all from the local community. And this 6 women from the tribal community are the main people who initiated this, because they used to take a loan and they could never repay it. And their problem was that they could not generate any income. They would take a loan for a family occasion or something, and they didn't know how to repay it. And then we identified that they have this unique craft in their hands which can be marketed.
Their need to strengthen supply chain networks, standardize quality parameters, and improve market linkages. This is where RBS has stepped in. Working with the Todas, with the help of the All India Artisans and Crafts Workers Welfare Association, or ICA, RBS has developed an enterprise model that generates employment, fostering traditional artisanry and protecting the ecosystem. ICA has reduced operating costs, improved branding, strengthened market linkages, and developed viable export strategies to help tribal women participate in the economic and ecological revival of the area. Ladakh, in the Indian Trans-Himalayas. Harsh climate, high altitude, and very short cultivation season. A unique terrain, the cold desert. Home to the snow leopard, the endangered black-necked crane, and several other rare endemic species. The local communities have striven to maintain the delicate balance between their needs and nature's capacity to meet these, through various socio-cultural and economic mechanisms. But over time, as Ladakh has become more accessible through improved transport, communication and tourism, change has brought about adverse effects to the environment. These traditional mechanisms are now desperately in need of conservation. The majority of farming is at the subsistence level. The backbone of the economy is the income from livestock rearing, particularly the rearing of high-value horses and the Changra goats, from whom they obtain cashmere, also known as pashmina. But this means that any casualties of wildlife-inflicted damage lead to massive financial losses for these people. As a consequence, some families have stopped keeping livestock, and most people harbor negative attitudes towards the wild carnivores, which are of high conservation value.
Under conflict mitigation, we have several ideas which we are exploring by holding meetings and consultations with the communities. And one of the ideas which we are beginning to implement is predator proofing of the corrals or the livestock pens that they have in the villages. So the predator cannot enter the pen and kill livestock wantonly. Otherwise, what happens is about say 30 to 50 goats and sheep can be killed in just one night, which is a very big loss for any family to bear with, and it has its own emotional trauma and consequences.
In Ladakh, RBS Foundation India has partnered with Nature Conservation Foundation and the Leh Nutrition Project to create solutions aiming at conservation awareness, reduction of economic losses to local communities, as well as providing meaningful and eco-friendly livelihoods in this ecologically fragile region.
Pantok digzam gala yondung mamul. Kasa, luskal. Gala yondung mana le mana. Ngata la pia mana. Ngata onsia pilok tia chala ni ngata nya chame dong na ya mahale. Ya inne kaduk se chan ngapi base lasho na ya ngima dan la ngima lasho na ra la group te chicho se nang mana yong ini yang ngata ikana lasho song ba mana pantok gala yondung le. Thakri chen ni ngata na ya mikcha mayan basang ngyan chan minuk le. Inne kana gala yondung pale. Kasa.
The project implementing a responsible tourism model which seeks to balance visitor expectations with the unique heritage and aspirations of the host. The project also spotlights conservation enterprises to reduce severe man-animal conflict by providing predator proofing to livestock pens, which has reduced incidences of livestock loss to snow leopards, as well as the retaliation killing of them. Other activities such as rotating grazing grounds so as to leave inviolate areas for rare species of Himalayan wild goat and sheep, and a conservation education program started in local schools go a long way in generating environmental awareness among these communities. Chilka Lake in the state of Odisha, the second largest lagoon in the world and the largest wintering ground for migratory birds on the Indian subcontinent. An ecosystem with large fishery resources that supports thousands of people living in the 132 villages on the shore and islands. Mangla Jodi is one of the largest villages on its banks. It's a success story in community conservation and resource management, as the villagers' own interventions have protected many migratory and endemic bird species. Organizations such as Wild Orissa and the Bombay Natural History Society have helped ensure the presence of as many as 1.5 lakh birds around the village during the migratory season, a sure sign that conservation efforts here have been a success. Researchers, bird watchers and day visitors are increasingly interested. A community-based ecotourism project has been initiated by the RBS Foundation India and Indian Grameen Services.
How to give alternate livelihoods to the people who were earlier engaged as a poachers. So slowly we involved in the ecotourism trust as a service providers. It may be a guide, it may be a boatman. So part of the tourism services they have provided. At the same time they have been earned a little more income. Similarly for the school students, we have also developed a eco tour package which is just meant for educating them on environment, local biodiversity and ecosystem here. So this way we are planning to cover all that will be throughout year activities, not as a seasonal activities for the winter migrants. So this way we are trying to engage the poachers and convert them as a long-term conservator and also sustainability of their livelihoods.
With the Gram Sabha's supervision, local youth are trained to oversee the management of this eco-resort, the souvenir shop and other aspects such as hospitality, catering and guiding tourists. Projects under RBS Foundation India have been supporting local enterprise across India while promoting sustainable livelihoods with a focus on community responsibility towards the environment. These projects acknowledge that local communities often rely on the surrounding forests, wetlands and other ecosystems for basic necessities, and thus any efforts in conservation have to take into context their vulnerabilities, goals and dreams. With careful examination of the specifics and local features of each area, each community, each endangered species, and each ecosystem as a whole, it has been possible to tailor optimal solutions for the continuance of a range of biodiverse regions, the well-being of people residing there, and the protection of the ecosystem, along with the livelihoods of the local communities. Our heritage has come down to us across the generations and will, if we persevere, endure for many more.